72 hours. That's all he gave them. In a world where African leaders are often ignored, one man stood before the United Nations and sent shockwaves across the globe. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young leader of Burkina Faso, dared to challenge billionaires, corporations, and even former U.S. President Donald Trump, warning them to keep their hands off Africa's gold. But what secret did Traoré uncover that made the powerful so nervous? And why did this ultimatum change the conversation about Africa forever? Tonight we uncover the hidden story behind Traoré's 72-hour ultimatum. The Grand Hall of the United Nations is no stranger to dramatic speeches. Leaders come and go, some reading lines written by staffers, others delivering long, forgettable statements filled with phrases like global cooperation and sustainable partnerships. But what happened on this day was different, very different. A young man in military fatigues stepped up to the podium. No fancy suit, no diplomatic smile. Just the raw, unshakable presence of someone carrying the weight of his people. His name, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the 36-year-old leader of Burkina Faso. The world didn't expect much. After all, Burkina Faso is a small, landlocked nation in West Africa. But within seconds, Traoré shattered expectations. His voice was steady, his eyes burning with conviction. Africa's resources belong to Africa, he declared. For centuries, outsiders have stolen our gold, our diamonds, our uranium, while our people live in poverty. Today, this ends. I give you 72 hours back away from our gold or face consequences. Gasps. Silence. Then a storm of whispers rippled across the room. Diplomats exchanged stunned looks. Journalists rushed to scribble notes. Was this man serious? Was he threatening the most powerful nations on Earth? Yes. And it didn't stop there. Behind closed doors, insiders revealed that Traoré's ultimatum wasn't just aimed at vague foreign powers. It was specifically directed at a new gold push being orchestrated by none other than Donald Trump and his business allies. After leaving the White House, Trump had set his sights on Africa. His companies, along with a network of corporations and lobbyists, were quietly securing mining rights in countries like Mali, Niger, and yes, Burkina Faso. Billions in gold were at stake. But Traoré's ultimatum threw a wrench into the plan. The symbolism was too powerful to ignore. A young African captain standing up to a billionaire former U.S. president. A small West African nation daring to defy global elites. David versus Goliath, live on the world stage. Social media exploded. Clips of Traoré's fiery words went viral. Hashtags like Traoré 72 hours and Africa rises trended across Twitter and TikTok. Millions of Africans cheered him as the Lion of Africa. Critics scoffed. What can Burkina Faso do against America? They asked. This is political theater, nothing more. But others saw something deeper. Traoré wouldn't risk global backlash unless he had something powerful. In his hands, a secret, a discovery, proof of how Africa's gold was being siphoned off in the shadows. And that revelation, people whispered, was the real reason Trump's allies were suddenly nervous. The countdown had begun. 72 hours. The world was watching. To understand the weight of Traoré's ultimatum, you have to understand Africa's gold. For centuries, the continent has been a glittering prize. The ancient empires of Mali and Ghana built their wealth on it. European colonizers invaded for it. And in modern times, multinational corporations continue the extraction, making billions while Africa remains poor. Burkina Faso is a perfect example. It sits on vast reserves of gold, yet it ranks among the poorest nations in the world. For years, international mining companies extracted wealth while local communities were left with polluted land, dangerous working conditions, and little to show for it. The numbers are staggering. Experts estimate that over $2 billion worth of gold leaves Burkina Faso every year, much of it smuggled or underreported. Across West Africa, the figure climbs even higher. Gold that could build schools, hospitals, and roads instead lines the pockets of foreign executives and distant shareholders. Now, enter Donald Trump. After leaving office, Trump wanted to rebuild his business empire. Africa, with its rich resources and weak governments, became an irresistible opportunity. His allies began setting up front companies, negotiating mining deals, and securing transport routes. But Traoré and his intelligence network uncovered the details. Reports suggested Trump-linked corporations were involved in secret contracts. Some gold was even being flown out on private planes, bypassing customs entirely. This wasn't just business. It was theft on an industrial scale. Traoré knew the story well. He had seen how Africa's gold was cursed, how every ounce leaving the continent deepened poverty at home. His ultimatum wasn't just about protecting Burkina Faso. It was about defending Africa itself. And when he spoke at the UN, he wasn't just delivering a warning. He was breaking a silence that had lasted too long. For ordinary Africans, the message resonated deeply. Generations had watched their countries remain poor despite immense wealth. They knew the reason. They just didn't have leaders willing to say it aloud. Until now. Traoré's words cracked open a conversation that powerful elites didn't want the world to have. Why is Africa, the richest continent in natural resources, still the poorest in living standards? The answer was simple. Because its treasure had always been taken by outsiders, and Traoré had just named names. Here's where the story turns from bold speech to political thriller. According to leaked intelligence documents, Traoré's government had uncovered a hidden gold smuggling network that tied together multinational corporations, corrupt officials, and yes, businesses linked to Donald Trump's circle. The scheme was sophisticated. Gold mined in West Africa was being misreported in quantity and quality. Official exports showed smaller amounts while the real bulk was flown out through private airstrips. From there, it traveled through Dubai, Switzerland, and even secret routes to the United States. Billions of dollars worth of gold vanished from Africa each year, and local governments saw only scraps. The documents revealed private meetings between Trump-linked businessmen and local intermediaries. They promised investment, but in reality, they secured sweetheart deals that gave them massive control over gold fields. In some cases, security forces were even used to intimidate villagers living near mines. Traoré's intelligence services traced shipments. They found private jets loaded with gold leaving airfields at night. They discovered offshore accounts tied to African officials who were paid to look the other way. And the most explosive revelation? That some of these operations had connections to Trump's business network. If true, it meant Trump's allies weren't just planning to expand into Africa's gold market. They were already in it, reaping profits while hiding in the shadows. This was the secret Traoré hinted at, and by giving his 72-hour ultimatum, he wasn't bluffing. He was daring the world to deny what he had already uncovered. For global elites, it was a nightmare. Exposure meant scandal, billions in lost deals, and the collapse of carefully built networks. For Africans, it was vindication. At last, proof of what they had always suspected. Their wealth was being stolen in broad daylight. The world's reaction was immediate. In Washington, officials scrambled to respond. Politicians dismissed Traoré's claims as baseless. Trump himself, when confronted by reporters, laughed it off. "I don't know what this guy is talking about. I'm not in Africa's gold business," he said. But insiders whispered that his associates were in full damage control mode, cutting ties and scrubbing records. Meanwhile, Africa was on fire, with hope. Across Mali, Niger, Guinea, and beyond, leaders praised Traoré's courage. For once, someone was saying what they all knew but feared to admit. Social media became a battleground. Hashtags like Young Africa for Africans and Traoré Ultimatum trended for days. Youth across the continent shared memes of Traoré as a superhero, standing against greedy billionaires. But there was danger too. Western media warned of instability. Intelligence agencies hinted at possible coup attempts. Rumors swirled of Assassination plots. Burkina Faso suddenly found itself in the crosshairs of global powers who had no intention of letting their gold pipeline be disrupted. Yet Traore didn't back down. In public speeches, he doubled down. "We are not afraid. Africa is not for sale. If they want our gold, they must come as partners, not thieves." The world watched as the 72-hour deadline ticked away. Would foreign companies withdraw? Would sanctions hit Burkina Faso? Or would something even darker unfold? The 72 hours came and went. And while no war erupted, the ripple effect was undeniable. Several corporations quietly suspended their gold operations in Burkina Faso. Some withdrew entirely, fearing exposure. Others scrambled to renegotiate under stricter terms. But the biggest victory wasn't economic. It was symbolic. Traore had shown Africa that defiance was possible, that even a small nation could stand up to giants. His ultimatum sparked conversations across the continent. Youth movements began calling for similar stands in Ghana, Nigeria, and the Congo. Leaders in Mali and Niger echoed his words. The secret he exposed, that Africa's gold was being stolen under the world's nose, was now public knowledge. And once exposed, it couldn't be hidden again. Of course, challenges remain. Burkina Faso still faces poverty, threats, and external pressure. Trump's allies may have pulled back, but others will surely try again. The struggle for Africa's resources is far from over. But something fundamental changed. A line was drawn, and the world knows it. From now on, Africa's young leaders won't be silent. From now on, outsiders will think twice before plundering in the shadows. And it all began with one man, one speech, and one ultimatum: quote hours to stop stealing Africa's gold. The 72-hour ultimatum has passed, and while the world may try to move on, something has changed. Africa is no longer silent. Its young leaders are no longer afraid. Traore's words sparked a movement, and his courage exposed a truth that cannot be buried again. Africa's gold, Africa's future, belongs to Africa. The question now is, who will listen? If you believe stories like this must be told, hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe for more powerful narratives from the heart of global politics. Because sometimes one speech can change the world.